Market at Bailey Park or Hillcrest Park. It's priced right, low maintenance, and close to medical care. Learn more at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Brenda Elder here, the Executive Director of the Shelby County Economic Development Corporation. From growing your business to attracting new investment, we're here to help. Find out more by clicking our icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
WTIM. Good morning. You're listening to WTIM, your information station, and our morning show brought to you by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville. I'm your host, Grayson Bauman. Joining me in this segment is Lisa Peterson. Lisa is a nutrition and wellness educator with the University of Illinois Extension. Lisa, good morning to you. How are you?
Yes, good morning. How are you?
Good. Glad to have you back around here to start with our sourdough starter. That's where we left off in the last interview. So now we're going to talk about sourdough starter to kick things off here today. That class, when's it going to be and what to expect from it?
Yeah, so it's called Sourdough Starter Made Simple. So that is going to be May 15th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. And it's at our Christian County Extension office here in Taylorville on Webster. I'm really excited about this class. Sourdough starters have been a big trend in the last probably 4 or 5 years. And this is something we get a lot of requests for within Christian County. So, of course, I tell people when they fill out evaluations for us, we want to know what classes they want to hear from us. And so this is one that has constantly been coming up. So I'm actually going to be piloting it in Christian County. So this will be our first class. I do think this class is currently full, but I do take a wait list for these classes because, of course, as we get closer to the date, people get busy, they cancel on us, sure. And we'll happily take people off the wait list. We'll let you know the day of or day before if we do have cancellations. But yeah, we'll be talking all about how to start a sourdough starter. So this is not, you're not buying a culture from somebody else. This is you mixing in your own water and flour and making your own. I love it because you know exactly what's in it. So that's kind of the beauty of it. Every person who leaves will walk away with their own starter. So, and then I'll talk about in that class, how do you take care of it? So, and honestly, all it is flour and water. It's simple as that. And it's keeping it alive is the big thing. We joke, it's like your Tamagotchis for adults. Sure. It's your pet that you got to keep alive for, we tell you to estimate about 14 to 15 days by the time you have a good, strong starter. And I think I've got 6 I've made so far, 6 starters that we've gotten to keep alive. And I've killed a couple of them by accident. But we'll talk about that, like some strategies for how do you keep these alive. So it's fermentation. So a lot of it is temperature of that room. It's what kind of water you're using, what kind of flour, measurements. There's different ratios you can use. So we'll want to kind of get into that in this class. We'll also give you handouts for kind of ways to chart it. So you know if you fed it and how often you feed it. Because after you get past like day 3, you're feeding it twice a day. So it's a process. And we say It's a commitment. I said, it's hard if you travel a lot. We joke we need a hotel for sourdough starters. But this is going to be really fun. It is designed for adults, but of course kids are welcome if they come with a parent and want to attend. It's a little bit higher on the fermentation science, but we're going to walk you through the whole process. Again, you'll get a jar, you'll get the flour, you'll learn how to put it together and mix it. And we'll kind of give you the do's and don'ts, and you'll learn some strategies based on what I've gone through the last couple months.
I was going to say, the last time we talked, you had just gotten kind of a start to it. Like, all right, I need to get this figured out, see what I'm working with. Yep. You had mentioned it's like a pet. It's hard to walk away from. If I remember right, you said feed it about every 12 hours. Yep.
So you do it every 12. You feed it twice a day for 12 hours for about 5 or 6 days. So you do it's about a 2-week commitment. But you start out and you feed it 12 hours apart. I actually have alarms on my phone to know when to feed it. But another thing is how to keep it warm. So getting into the spring and summer, it's almost better to start a starter because you do need to keep it in the right temperature. And if you put it in the windowsill in the winter, you're going to kill it. It's going to take a long time for it to stay warm. So that's a big part of it too, temperature and the type of water you're using. Usually we don't recommend tap water because that can make it harder for it to ferment. So using spring water, using bottled drinking water, that works a little bit better. So again, we're going to get into all the kind of the nitty gritty of this class. But I'm really, really looking forward to this. Hopefully we'll help answer a lot of questions and alleviate stress when it comes to making your own starter. And yeah, it'll be really fun. And again, you walk away with the starter and hopefully the knowledge to keep it alive.
Class already being full lets me know that, okay, after it being heavily requested for some time now, all right, now we got the folks that have been wanting and waiting on this. So even though it's full, sourdough starter class that's coming up, feed it every 12 hours or so for the first couple of weeks.
Yeah. So you're feeding it twice. You're twice a day, 12 hours apart. Yep. Yep.
And is that going to continue after that 2-week
So
period?
then you can usually put it in the fridge and then you don't have to feed it. We say feed it as often as you're going to use it. So we typically, to keep a strong starter, to really get it alive, that's where those first 14 days are really crucial to feeding it twice a day. And then, of course, after so long, you can put it in the fridge and if you need to reactivate it. But once a starter is alive and going, you just have to feed it to kind of re-up its life. And we are, of course, I said we're doing it here in Christian County. We are doing 2 other ones. So the people who are interested in this, we are doing one in Montgomery County as well as in Macoupin County and Hillsborough and Carlinville. Those dates are on our calendar on the extension website. Of course, you can always call the office and they'll tell you. It doesn't matter because we are a 4-county unit. So if you call them like, well, I'm calling Christian County to find out about a program in Montgomery, they're going to answer the questions either way. So we are all interconnected within our 4 counties. So
while Christian County might be full, we might be able to sneak you into maybe Macoupin, Montgomery, and get that figured out for you.
Yep.
It seems like it's an art almost, you know, because you see people get the razor blade out, they score it, and they get all these fancy patterns on there. Is that necessary for the baking process?
It is, because you got to allow air in. So some of that is required. And again, as a nutrition educator, we're talking about how do we turn this into a science-based course, because we're all about the evidence-based information. We do go through in this class, when I start out, I talk about the health benefits of sourdough. Sourdough also lasts longer. So that's one big benefit of it. It's got a lower pH, so it's got a higher acidity. So the bread, it won't go bad as fast. So that's one of the good things. And I say anything you can make at home where you're adding the ingredients yourself, you know what's in it. And that makes you feel a little bit better. We're not adding as much sugar. We're not adding as much salt when we do it. Also, sourdough is easier to digest. So because of that longer time to ferment in your body, people with high blood sugar, that can help control it. It helps stabilize it a little bit better when using that sourdough rather than the other ones. But yeah, we go through a little bit more in the detail, the benefits of it, but I will talk about that within this class. So again, we go into the science of fermentation, but then we'll also talk about the health benefits. Yeah.
Would you be willing to tell us some of the science behind it or some of the health benefits?
So a lot of it is the fermentation process. So that's where, and there's a lot of variables that go into it. I mean, like I said, it's the water you're using, the flour you're using. We actually recommend using rye flour when you start out, because that's the one that has the most microbes in it. So, and we will be providing that flour at least to get your starters started. And I'll talk about, because again, a lot of our issues is how do we find it locally. So we'll talk about some areas where you can find it within Christian County and get the flour you need for this class. But compared to using some of the other flours, I've also been experimenting with, I have family members who have celiac disease, so we can't be using gluten. So we've been playing around. I've done 2 or 3 now with flours that do not have gluten in them, and trying to keep those alive, which are a little bit different, but I've so far kept my 2 alive. So that's another thing too, is talking about how do we ferment with a different type of flour. So that's something I'll talk about in this class as well. I do tell anybody who's taking this class and they want to do the gluten-free version to let me know in advance, because we've got to prevent any type of cross contact when doing that. We can't have a mixture of flours in there. So, but that is one where I feel very well versed in that, because we've done so much work in it and looking at the research behind it. And because sourdough is still very new to people, talking about, again, how do we know when your sourdough is safe to use that starter is? So we will talk about like what it looks like, things like that. When do you have to throw it out and start over again? So this class will hopefully help with some of that troubleshooting too.
I was going to say, but I can see there being some issue with it in terms of, all right, did I keep it alive? How do I know if it kind of died out on me? And for fear of sounding stupid, I didn't want to say anything about a gluten-free option. Would that be something like an almond flour? Or
so it's I've been using sorghum flour, which is, again, different type of flour. It's a little bit chewier. Little research explains it's a nuttier type of flour. So when you're cooking with it, it's not going to be, again, gluten is the elasticity in bread. So that's a hard one to cut out. I've been using some other recipes we're finding with some, like, they're kind of like all-purpose gluten-free mixes and I'm following their guidelines for it. And so far, those have worked really well. So we'll kind of go through those as well. But the ones where I want to make sure you can find this flour locally, where you don't have to buy it off somewhere online and wait forever for it to come. So I'm making sure, again, within about an hour region, you can go out and buy your flour, because we do use a lot of flour to make a sourdough starter.
Once you've got it all complete, you've got your sourdough starter kit, it's mixed together, you've fed it. Is there a particular smell that might let you know that it's gone bad? Is there a look to it? That's
what really threw me the first time I was making it too, because when it does have different smells to it, and a lot of those are triggering for people. Like one of them, after a while, might smell like acetone. So you're like, oh no, or like, am I killing it? And it's not, it's just hungry. So we will talk about that in that class too. Some of these scents you might notice that aren't necessarily an indicator of safety. So, because I know I was very concerned when I started smelling nail polish remover.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
am I okay? And they're like, yep, that's fine. It's just hungry. So I fed it and the smell went right away. But it's interesting as we go into it, like the yeasty smell or the smell that you're really looking for. I will say it doesn't smell up your kitchen. It's just the jar itself. I'd be a little worried if I started smelling that across my kitchen.
Yes.
But yeah, we'll talk about that in the classes and some of the smells you might notice and things like that. And hopefully reassure people and increase their confidence that you're still doing okay.
Yeah.
And we will check up too. I'll follow up with people as well just to see how it's going. If we've kept those alive and we're ready to make bread.
So if you smell nail polish remover, it might just need fed. It's almost then it's almost like a baby. Kind of.
Yep. Kind of.
It's got its unique way of letting you know, but it's letting you know. Well, we're joined right now by Lisa Peterson, nutrition and wellness educator with the U of I Extension, talking her sourdough starter class.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the Christian County is full, the variant going on there, but Montgomery, Macoupin, you might have some openings.
Oh, yeah.
And check them out there. We talked sourdough starter class. We're going to come back around. We're going to talk another class that Lisa has coming up when we return. You're listening to WTIM, your information station.
WTIM. Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn steady, beans lower, wheat trading higher. May corn up 3/4, 468. July corn up 1/4, 475 3/4. New crop December 447.5, up 1 1/4. May beans 1030 down 4 3/4. July beans down 2 1/2, 1042. New crop November 1016 1/4, down 2 pennies. May Chicago wheat 523 1/4, up 10 1/4. July wheat up 6 3/4, 537 1/2. May bean meal 287.80, that's down 220. May bean oil 49.26, up 68 cents. Livestock market, May feeders 293.62, up $1.05. June live cattle up 92 cents, 209.32. May lean hogs unchanged, 91.92. Energy market, June crude oil up 41 cents, 58.62. That's a check of the markets on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor.
Here's Cousin Bill from Illinois Paving.
Attention business owners and property managers. Has winter damaged your parking lot? Are you tired of wasting money on a cheap fix that never lasts? Call Cousin Bill at Illinois Paving. We will answer the phone, show up for the estimate, execute the work. We provide asphalt patching, hot crack fill, polymerized dual seal coat, new asphalt install, multiple layered chip seal. Call today and get on the schedule to get your lot fixed right. ILPaving.com.
Darren Seaton here, the new manager at Taylorville Home Source, your local design center. With some information you may not know, we have all your flooring solutions, including carpet, vinyl plank, and hardwood. We're able to custom design a complete kitchen, including flooring, cabinets, and countertops, in laminate or quartz. We have our own in-house installer with many years' experience, plus several contractors to help with remodeling. Seek me, Darren Seaton, at your local design center. It's Taylorville Home Source.
Now you can listen to WTIM on any Amazon Alexa-enabled device. There are 3 easy steps. Step 1.
Download the free Alexa app by going to the App Store on your mobile device.
Step 2. Enable our skill by going to the menu, select Skills, and then find WTIM News Talk. Open the skill.
Step 3. Activate the skill by saying, Alexa, play WTIM News Talk.
That's all there is to it.
And to stop the WTIM stream, just say, Alexa, stop.
WTIM News Talk, now on the Amazon Alexa app.
Carl Krumsick here from Krumsick Monument Company in Taylorville, Illinois. Find out the many services we provide by clicking our icon on the obituaries page of TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
This is Blaine Cornwell with Prairie State Insurance. To learn more about our products and services, click our icon on TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
WTIM. Back around with more of the WTIM morning show here on your information station. Brought to you by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville. I'm your host, Grayson Bauman. Joining me in this segment is Lisa Peterson. Lisa is a nutrition and wellness educator with the U of I Extension. And we talked sourdough starter class, but it's time to turn the page and talk a little bit about a canning class that Lisa has coming up What can folks expect from that?
Yes, I'm very excited about this. This is in partnership with Taylorville Memorial Hospital. We've been doing classes with them about quarterly here in the last couple of years, and they've all gone over really, really well. This class is at the hospital. It'll be June 17th from 5 to 7, same time as our other classes. But this one's a little bit different. It's talking more about canning. So we're going to be doing some boiling water bath canning in this class. This is great for anybody who is a very seasoned canner or somebody who has never canned in their life. This class is going to get into kind of the process of canning. And what I love about these is there's a component of actually making something. So we are going to be doing a hands-on. We're going to be doing a low sugar jam, as well as we're going to do a low sodium pickle. And the why they're different is because recipes we're very particular about when you can. So we tell you have to find a research-based recipe. Well, with a lot of health issues, when you make jam, you add a lot of sugar. And we do it for stability. We do it for it's the safety of the jam to make it last longer. It also tastes really good that way. Well, there's certain recipes out there where you can make some modifications. And that's where this class is really going to be helpful for people who do, again, if you are a seasoned canner and you're trying to be more health conscious, you're like, well, I want to save all my fruit, but I don't want to add all that sugar in there. So we're going to give you recipes, and we're going to make a recipe where we're going to be cutting down on some of that sugar, and you'll learn how the process differs. It's not a big difference, but we'll talk about kind of how do you make it, how is it different, and then do a little taste testing with it, of course, as well. But again, we're going to talk about these research-based recipes, what you can modify, what you can't modify with them. Pickles is another big one. When you pickle, you're always adding a ton of salt. So, and we always say you can't change the amount in there. So we're going to talk a little bit about those recipes where you can do some modification and cut down on the sodium. But again, we always say follow a research-based recipe. So we want to make sure you're getting it from a place that they've tested that recipe. They know you're not going to get sick from leaving it on your shelf for a year. That's either by calling one of our extension offices or going on to the National Center for Home Food Preservation, or just calling us and having questions about it. And we're happy to address it. But I'm really looking forward to this class. This will be really fun as we get into kind of that canning season with all the good fresh produce coming in. We'll talk about how to save it longer by way of canning.
Interesting that I think that's kind of coming back a little bit too with I'll say a spike in homesteading, or the allure of it. And then it's the hard work that all of a sudden probably knocks that allure down. Some of that being with the canning class, if you can kind of get rid of that. Do they need to bring anything like a 12-pack of mason jars with them?
Nope. So the university will cover the cost. So we do want to, that's one thing we try to do our best with within the University of Illinois Extension, is making sure that everything is cost efficient. So we do not offer these classes at any cost. So again, you will go, we're going to do a little bit of a raffle for who takes home what, but we want to make sure you get the practical experience making these recipes. So again, you will get to taste test. We'll have a couple I'll have a couple where you get to see if you can tell the difference between the low sugar and the high sugar jams. But yeah, you will get a process to make it. And then depending on how many people we have in the class, we may raffle off or give away some of that. We want to make sure we give away all the pickles and the jam.
It's going to somebody.
Yes.
I like that you mentioned that it's for beginners or veterans. We'll call them in this sense. Veterans maybe can learn how to do it more health consciously. A person just starting can learn how to just start with canning. And
people forget, their grandparents canned. They forget that science does change and it evolves. And some of the practices you might have been doing when you were younger are no longer considered safe. One of them is using something called paraffin wax, which we see on jam. People put it on there rather than a lid that molds. And that is, they still sell it in the grocery stores next to the canning. That is highly not recommended for canning, because it will mold over time. It is not a safe practice. Another one we'll see that's not recommended is flipping the jars. So they'll take the jar and then they'll flip it over. When they do that, they're like, well, it makes so your strawberries and stuff mix up better. But the problem is when you flip it after you've canned it, that seal may not be sealed. And then we're seeing issues with mold growing. And again, these are little things where even if you bring some of these to me, I can give you the science behind why we don't recommend it and what we've seen in the last 10 years on why this is no longer a safe practice. Another issue too is open kettle canning. We see that as a problem where what happens is people don't actually boil the jars. So when you put your jar into a canner, you got to process it. So you make your jam, put your jam in there, put it in the canner. You can it for a certain amount of time, take it out. Well, we have people filling hot jars with hot food and putting a lid on it. And that is not a safe practice because, again, you need to process that product to make sure that it is safe And again, most stuff, as long as you're not seeing bubbles, your lid's not dented, they are safe indefinitely. Best quality, we're going to tell you home canned are good for about a year. So,
best quality.
Yeah. Like you can keep it for 10, 15 years. Yeah. I had grandparents who kept theirs. We found them after they passed. And could we have eaten it? Yes. Did we want to? Not so much.
Not so much. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. Lisa's canning class will be on June 17th, 5 to 7 p.m. at TMH, Taylorville Memorial Hospital. Beginners, vets, and the likes of them. Lisa, again, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
And the sourdough starter class, I'm excited for you there as well. You're listening to WTIM, your information station.
The Big 870 WTIM Assumption Taylorville, 96.1 W241 CF Taylorville, 107.5 W298 CD Shelbyville, 107.9 W300 EH Payne and Nokomis.
This hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Senate Republicans have handed President Trump a victory on tariffs. Republicans voting down a Democratic resolution that would have blocked the president's tariffs. Their levies, that Mr. Trump says, are already producing jobs, making America rich again. Before you blame him for the economy's contraction in the first quarter, President Trump has one word for you: Bidenomics.
For the first time in 3 years, the U.S. economy did not grow during the first quarter. Donald Trump was in office for more than 2 of the 3 months, but he claimed he isn't to blame for the contraction.
That's Biden. That's not Trump, because we came in on January. This is the quarterly numbers.
The president is telling Americans to be patient, arguing that his tariffs would eventually lead to an economic boom. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Treasury Secretary Bessent says a newly inked U.S.-Ukraine economic cooperation deal should send a message to Vladimir Putin.
Today's agreement signals clearly to Russian leadership that the Trump administration is committed to a peace process centered on a free, sovereign, and prosperous Ukraine over the long term. It's time for this cruel and senseless war to end.
Under the deal, the U.S. gets development rights to Ukraine's rare earth minerals. This will help Ukraine repay its war debts and will fund reconstruction of the country once the war is over. Oman's foreign minister says the next round of nuclear talks, scheduled for Saturday between Iran and the U.S., have been postponed. Those talks were to have been held in Rome. Deadly spring storms have pounded parts of the nation's midsection and some points to the east. Flash flooding produced by thunderstorms in Texas and Oklahoma blamed for at least 2 deaths. On Wall Street, the Dow trading 318 points higher. More on these stories.